What is up, guys? Even here from Rev Airsoft PH. Adam's not with me right now, but what I have right now is the ICS ICP. So let's start. So a few disclaimers before we start the unboxing, right? So this is not sponsored by anyone. This was bought by my friend Ron, and he gave us permission to review his unit actually. So if you do want one of these, you can get it from 6M MPH, and you can contact them through their Facebook page, and I'm sure Boss Brian will hook you up with one. Okay, so unboxing, right? So of course, first you have your product manual QR codes. You can scan that if you need your product manual, right? Of course, you need to know how to use the replica, right? And some of ICS's socials, so you can see FB, their manual, of course Instagram, right? And out of the box, it also comes with your threaded adapter right there. Okay, so for your suppressors, for your tracers, and what other 14mm accessories you might want to use, right? And then of course, before we go to the replica itself, you have your magazine. So this looks like to be a TM or maybe a Wii compatible magazine, right? G17 or G18 magazine. So what's cool about the ICS magazines is it comes with their Revo valves, which is adjustable for the output. So this is something that we still have to test if it really works. So we'll update you guys on how this actually functions maybe in the future, right? So at the bottom side, you have the base pad, right? So the base pad, so usually you should see the inlet valve there, but for this one you have a small lever here, so you actually push that button, you slide it out, and then there is your input valve, right? So it's basically a magazine, right? Standard capacity for your G style magazines. So let's go to the replica itself. So the replica, okay, so we were talking about this a few weeks back, right? And it doesn't look like a straight up G style clone, right? Or a glock or what have you. So this maybe looks like a Canik TP9, maybe it's closer to that, right? But we'll start with the slide. So with the slide, you have your cutouts at the front there, right? And then serrations here at the back. So unfortunately, since there are cutouts at the front, it might not be advisable to grab it there, right? So it's easier to rack it at the back with these serrations. And if you do look at the front side, it has a bright white dot, and same as the rear. So let me get that in the camera. So you have that, right? So it's very easy target acquisition with these sights. I like these sights, right? So it's that oval and that white at the front makes it easier for you to actually aim this thing. And if you're not into using irons, right, out of the box, it also has a provision for the RMR sight, or maybe a micro red dot. The only issue I see is if you do have long screws. I'm pretty sure you can see it right there. You can actually see the nozzle spring, right? So make sure your screws do not interfere with the nozzle spring, otherwise you might hinder the functionality of your replica. Okay, so moving on. So you have the sides, and of course you have your outer barrel. Your outer barrel is marked with ICP. I think it's Innovation Competition Pistol, right, or something. Yeah, it says there right on the side, right? So you have those markings, and at the side, so there's no markings on the chamber itself, right? Moving downwards, right, we have the frame. So at the front, you have your standard Picatinny rail for mounting your lights, right? Lasers, maybe a small nade launcher. I have one of those, right? Yeah, anything you want there, you can actually mount it. Maybe a foregrip, right? So yeah, maybe not. Okay, next is we have these, right? This is sort of cool, right? It helps you grip. So that there's some texture there for you to comfortably grip your replica as well. And of course, you have your slide release. So as I was talking earlier, it doesn't seem to be a standard G style slide, right? And of course the slide release, it looks like a Canik TP9. So at the side you also have some support for your thumb as well as the other side, so it depends on how you like to grip your pistol or your replica, right? But it gives you some sort of guide, right, on where to place your fingers. Okay, at the front as well of the trigger guard, you have some texture there, so if you like putting your finger there, right, it gives you a little bit more grip. Let's move on to the trigger. The trigger is your standard G style trigger. So if you actually check, right, there's a little red triangle there, and that tells you that this is ready to go. So I've cocked this earlier, so as you can see, that little red triangle hides a bit, right? And that tells you that it's an indicator, right, that this is not cocked. So again, that's cocked and not cocked. Okay, so let's talk more about the trigger. So what about the trigger pull? It feels like a standard G-style replica. So a lot of slack before your trigger, the wall, right? And then it hits, then a little bit more over travel. So I've had my AAPs, I have my Glock style replicas, right? And what I can say is this might benefit from you installing a aftermarket trigger. Let me get one of my AAPs, right, and I'll show you the difference. Okay, so I have one of my AAPs here, right, and as you can see, this is a newly installed Cow trigger. So this is compatible with Glock style replicas, and I have yet to check if it's compatible with the ICP, but from the looks of it, it should accept any G style trigger. And as you can see, this is an adjustable trigger both for over travel and of course the trigger pull. So comparing that, right, that's the wall, and then a short clean break, and then you have that screw which stops over travel. So again, so no wall, no take up, right, immediately the wall, and then break, and then no over travel. So comparing that with a stock G style trigger, so a lot of slack, then you meet the wall, and then pack, and then you have some over travel. That's not it's on par with other replicas, right? But if you're looking for more of a competition style pistol, you might want to upgrade that trigger as well. Unfortunately, out of the box, ICS did not include any kind of adjustability with this trigger. So another thing that I like, right, so you have the textures at the front, as I was talking about earlier, is an undercut here, which really helps grip this with your grip with this pistol. See, so it's really comfortable holding it here. Other pistols, right, my knuckles would hit the trigger guard, but for this one, it's really comfortable. And of course, you have that extended mag release. The mag release is actually ambidextrous, or sorry, reversible, right? So if you're a left-handed shooter, you can actually switch that to go on that side. Okay, going down to the grip itself. The grip itself looks like it was carved out of something, right? But unfortunately, I do have sweaty fingers or sweaty hands, right? And when I do grip this, a little bit of texture might help, right? So it's not all that bad, right? But it's a little bit smooth, and that texture isn't helping, right? But hopefully, or maybe you could do a custom job with stippling, right, and improve the grip on this replica. So another feature of this is the integrated Magwell. So you have a Magwell out of the box. There you go. I believe this is removable. So there is a screw on the other underside. Let me get that in focus. So there's a screw on the underside, and it allows you to remove or install that Magwell as you please. Okay, I'll do a short disassembly, right? So another cool feature of this it comes pre-upgraded out of the box. So let me just pull this, right, and quickly disassemble the replica. Okay, so this comes with a Tightbore inner barrel made by Mastermods, and of course the Mastermods TDC hop-up chamber, which allows you to adjust your hop-up right there. So you're going to need a tool, right, which is a screwdriver, but a TDC hop is a lot better than having those standard Glock or maybe high cap style of hop chambers, right? Which includes the L thing that pulls down the hop rubber out, pulls down the hop rubber, the hop knob, and the hop rubber. And having a TDC gives you a little bit more consistency. Not a little bit, I like a lot, right? It's really more consistent compared to your standard hop chambers. But the downside of this replica is it is proprietary to the ICP. So it looks like a Glock style hop chamber, TM Glock style hop chamber, but with one exception, right? Since it's using one of these, right? Unlike a Glock where you have the things, the tabs that go up and down, right? Which you pull down. We actually have a you have this pin, right, with the slide lock itself. So this is proprietary to the ICP. So yeah, having a replica that's pre-upgraded out of the box is cool, right? And I was testing out the Challenger a little bit earlier, which also uses a TDC hop. But for this one, maybe we'll release a shooting test, right? Once we see it out in the field. But I'm pretty sure that this is on par, or maybe on par with the ICS Challenger. So you also have your standard red nozzle there, and then your selector switch. So out of the box, this also fires full auto, but I would not recommend that you would run full auto on these all the time. Okay, going down to the lower. So the lower looks like your standard G style as well, right? With the exception of that slide release. So let me get that right. So you can see that it's similar to a Marui G style replica, right? This, however, is different from the G18C that you usually see. Let me bring down the hammer and tell you why. It's because it's using a bearing rather than a rotor. So full auto G style or G18 style replicas would have a rotor rather than a bearing. So this has a solid bearing, and there's a small part that usually breaks, right? And the rotor would get dislodged somewhere there, and it will not function, and you'd have to get a steel part. So again, I have the AAP here at the side, so let me just show you. So while it is a similar design, right, you usually would see this rotor style for the TMG18s, right, with the Glocks that have full auto. But for this one, you have the bearing styled one. So I believe, if I'm not mistaken, right, WE also has this on the replicas, right? Unfortunately, the parts are not steel. They look to be some sort of zinc or maybe aluminum alloy, right? But I'm pretty sure it's spot metal. So longevity is a question with this replica, but I'm sure ICS on their website has parts for this replica as well, so you don't have to worry about things breaking. Okay, so final thoughts on the ICS ICP. So yeah, great sights, optics ready. You have a Magwell out of the box, great package for beginners. Yeah, the lower seems to be durable enough, right? It won't present with any of the DM issues, and I believe it's also WE mags are compatible. So yeah, there you go. So ICS mags also work well, right? So it's WE-mag compatible. So again, it's a great beginner pistol, especially with that Mastermods TDC hop chamber and the inner barrel, of course, and of course the hop bucking. So some gripes I do have with it is maybe the trigger could have been done a little bit better. There's really a lot of slack with this one. Nothing that you can't get over by, of course, getting familiar with your replica or your pistol. Another gripe that I do have is the grip, which is fairly slippery. Of course, if you do not use gloves, or maybe you have sweaty fingers or sweaty hands, right, it might slip out of your hands. My gripes, right? So that outer barrel, so it's really rattly, and I do not like that's noisy, right? And it might affect your accuracy as well. But I'm sure you can find a mod or maybe find the fixed outer barrel for you to fix that issue. What about the things that I like about the ICS ICP. So of course, you have that Mastermods inner barrel, hop-up bucking, and of course, the hop-up chamber itself, which is TDC, and that would give you an advantage over having the traditional G-style hop chambers, right, which are fairly good, but that lever style, right, with one side of the steel part that pulls down on the hop rubber actually gives you some inconsistency, right? With this, it's a better system, it's a more consistent system, right? So again, we'll include a shooting video once we do get this out in the field. Yeah, it's a great starting pistol altogether. So again, I just have some nitpicking, right? And it's relatively cheap compared to other pistols, right? And there's no other replica that has a TDC out of the box, TDC hop-up chamber out of the box, save for the ICS Challenger and of course the other high capas of ICS. So it's a competitive enough package that I would recommend this replica. That is it, guys, and thank you for watching, and I'll see you on the next video.
ICS ICP. Ano testing. Thank you, Ron. Okay. So, yung ano natin is yung attention
Pop-up targets.
1, 2, 3, 4, then yellow target, then 1, 2, 3, 4 babalik. So let's see kung kaya gawin natin in one try. Okay. Right.
Stand by. Beep.
So, meron akong two no na ano.
Two missed shots.
Two missed shots.